Everyone knows Magnus Carlsen as one of the greatest chess players in the world, renowned for winning nearly every game he plays. But what happens when he goes undercover to trick his opponent? This time, Magnus's opponent had no idea what he was about to face. Given how Magnus is widely considered the world's best chess player, what will change when his opponent doesn't even know it's him? Gustafsson opens with knight to f3 and Carlsen responds with pawn to d5. The Dutch defense aiming to control the critical center squares and prepare for a kingside assault. Magnus responds by developing his own knight and pawn, while Gustafsson brings out his bishop, ready to attack on the long diagonal of the board. In the chess world, this is commonly referred to as a fianchetto. Gustafsson moves his pawn to c4 in order to attack this center square. Magnus responds by bringing his own pawn forward, but Gustafsson layers his control by developing his knight, allowing him to have a double attack on d5. Jan expands in the center with d4, aiming to open lines for his pieces. Magnus plays a5, intending to gain space on the queen's side and prepare for a potential push. But this is where the game gets interesting, and Gustafsson, still none the wiser, has no idea what's coming. Both players shuffle around their pieces some more, and Magnus plays a devastating move, knight to b4, allowing him to attack multiple squares in white's back rank. Gustafsson doesn't want to trade his bishop for the knight on b4, so he prepares to connect his rooks and bring out his queen. Magnus plays yet another aggressive move, pushing his other knight to e4, creating even more threats in his opponent's backline. Gustafsson trades knights on e4 and then falls back after Magnus recaptures with a pawn. Magnus develops his queen and both players shuffle pieces around until Magnus plays this move, knight to d3. Not only does this threaten white's rook, but he also can't take the knight due to the square being reinforced by black's pawn and queen. And this is where Gustafsson starts getting suspicious.
Also, why is this guy blitzing out every move? It's very confusing to me. He never thinks, like these moves aren't obvious.
Gustafsson moves his rook to the d-file, and Magnus strikes back with a pawn to e5, looking to gain even more center control. After letting his clock tick down for an entire minute, Gustafsson chooses to capture this pawn with his light-squared bishop, which Magnus recaptures with his queen, putting it in an extremely dangerous position. With every passing second, Gustafsson grows increasingly confused by his mystery opponent's gameplay.
Either he's the biggest genius in the world, or this is weird.
He moves his own queen up to d3 to contest Magnus's queen, which he responds to with another aggressive move to f3, opening up for a potential check. White captures black's e5 pawn to gain back more control of the center, but instead of recapturing with his own pawn, Magnus moves his light-squared bishop to f5, setting his sights on Gustafsson's queen. Now forced to block with a pawn, Magnus takes the queen trade, nudging them closer to an endgame, where Magnus is notoriously strong.
Doesn't he know that I'm supposed to be the greatest endgame player of all time?
Magnus slides his bishop over to capture the e4 pawn, and this is where Gustafsson makes a crucial mistake. Rook to c3, a devastating blunder. With the ever-increasing time pressure, in an effort to escape Magnus's bishop, he wastes a move running away to c3 when he instead could have brought his rook over to d1, activating his second rook while also doubling them and protecting the threatened rook on d3.
It's just humiliating. Also very confused by his style, because he doesn't make any sensible moves, no offense, but somehow he keeps tricking me.
Gustafsson's mysterious opponent smells blood in the water and moves in for the kill, sliding their bishop over to d2 and threatening the rook. This forces white to waste yet another move, retreating back to e3, and this was exactly what Magnus Carlsen wanted. He takes the sole remaining knight on the board by capturing on c2. Gustafsson responds by bringing his rook down to e2 in a last-ditch effort to take one of Magnus's bishops. Magnus moves his bishop to b4, trapping his opponent in a lose-lose situation. This allows him to trade out another of Gustafsson's pieces, even if it means losing a bishop of his own.
Yeah, this looks way over my head. I'm not sure what's going on there, Mr. Solomon. That's too strong for me. Yeah, I guess I can resign here with a clear conscience, right?
Gustafsson resigns, and his elusive opponent, Magnus Carlsen, remains chess's most powerful force to be reckoned with.